Hello, my name's John Wagner, and welcome to another edition of Cosmic Destiny, or Cosmic Dust. Today, I'm trying out a little background on my phone. I guess it's a little more exciting than seeing a bookshelf or a pile of my dirty clothes. But today I'd like to share about one of my more profound meditation experiences. And I wish I could say that it took me a long time and lots of training to do, but no, I was about 19 and it was just a gift. So I'd like to share that with you too. Let's see, I was 19 years old and I went out with my dad, whose name is David Wagner. He's a botanist and an evolutionary biologist, and he was doing an environmental impact survey on the Little Applegate watershed in Oregon. And I don't know if you know what a watershed is, but a watershed is where a lot of the snowmelt goes into the ground, and the life is so thick there that you can literally take a knife and stab it into the ground and pull out a huge chunk of just dripping roots and life. It's about, more than a foot thick. You can just take out a big chunk of mud and roots, and it's a very delicate environment. And so my dad was doing a survey for the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, about the environmental impact of cattle grazing on the watershed. So rather than go with him, I decided to sit in the watershed and try a little meditation. So I had just read the first paragraph in this book by a man named Shunryu Suzuki, who I think was a Vietnamese Zen Buddhist, and his book was the Beginner Zen Mind. And anyway, in this first paragraph, it just told me how to sit, and I did that. I kind of knew that already. So I'm sitting, and it's a beautiful day. Blue sky as far as the eyes can see. Not a cloud anywhere. Just pure blue sky. A beautiful sunny day. And so I started breathing like I normally do, and the way that I empty my mind when I'm breathing is that when I breathe in, I think the word in, and that way I fill my mind with that word, and when I breathe out, I think out, 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 out. So I just empty my mind, and after a while, I just think in, out, 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 and then after a little bit longer, I just think it one time, in, out, and pretty soon I'm not thinking at all. So I'm sitting in this beautiful forest, this big grassy field of a watershed with trees outlining, and I'm sitting on this hill kind of looking downwards over the horizon, and I can see off, as far as the eyes can see in the horizon. No clouds. It was just a beautiful day. And so I was sitting there, and I was feeling very good. I could feel the sun beating on my body, and I could feel bugs crawling on my face, but I didn't care. I just sat, and I kept my eyes closed, and I was breathing. At one point, I heard this sound, like this roaring sound. I could feel all this wind blowing, and so I opened my eyes, and there was a vortex of bugs, like thousands and thousands of bugs flying in a circle all around me, making this column going up, 50 feet of just bugs in this vortex flying around me. And I have to say, that alone was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. But because of my purpose of meditation. I just thought, okay, and went back into my meditation. And so I'm meditating. And at one point, I just made a decision to forget who I was. I forgot my name. I forgot my gender. I forgot my humanity. And I felt myself raise into the sky. And I could feel my body, right? Because there were bugs crawling all over my face, all over my legs. I was sitting in the lotus position. And I could feel my body, but it was 5 miles below me. I mean, it was way down there. And I'll be honest, when I was younger, I did a lot of acid. I did mushrooms, right? I've done a lot of stuff. Mostly, psychedelics. But on this day, nothing. And I have to say that the feeling, and this is not the first and only time that I've left my body, but this one was the most profound because I was sober. And I thought, to get that feeling of separation, it was so real and profound that before having this meditation, I would have thought that you would have to eat 1,000 hits of acid to get this high. It was that profound. It dwarfed anything even remotely, wherever I've gone on mushrooms or acid. This was something different. No wonder when the guy went to India and brought acid with him, he gave it to a guru, and the guru said, this is interesting, but it's nothing new. So I'm sitting there, and I feel my body below me, totally separate from my mind. And I was in a place that I can only describe kind of like my background, except it was kind of gray. And in this place, all life is sentient. All life, every living thing was in this realm. And that's where life is sentient. It was a gray, nowhere zone of consciousness. And I could feel my body still below me. And the separation was so profound, it was unreal. So in that place and in that state, I heard this poem come to me. And I didn't make this up, right? These words just came into my head. I am the birds, I am the bees, I am the flowers, I am the trees, I am the wind above the seas, but I am nothing. I am the mountain's blue haze, I am the night, I am the day, I am the wrath of God upon the world below, but I am nothing. And after those words hit me, and I was in that place so far above my body, I decided to open my eyes. I thought, well, if my mind's up here and my body's down there, what would happen if I opened my eyes? So I opened my eyes. And I saw before me the green field, pasture, and forest off into the horizon. I saw the blue sky with no clouds as far as the eyes could see. But beyond the blue sky, I could see the blackness of space. And all of it, all of the colors all of a sudden, the green hills and the blue sky and the blackness of space started to spin and kind of come into my perception like this, spinning vortex kind of getting sucked into my eyeballs. And at that moment, I had a thought, and I said to myself, I'm having a physical hallucination from meditation. And now, because something was coming, right? All this stuff was coming into my perception, and whatever had just happened in that place of consciousness, however special and profound that was, whatever was coming was even bigger, right? Like, oh man, here it comes, whatever it is, I'm not sure, but I wanted it. I wanted it. right after my thought, I'm having a physical hallucination from meditation. And at that moment, I wanted it. And as soon as I had one inkling of desire, the sun was covered for me, which I thought was odd. And I looked up, and about, half a mile above me was a cloud sheltering the sun from me. The sun was shining right outside of where I was sitting, 2 feet away from me in every direction was the sunlight. But I was in the shadow of this cloud. And so I disregarded it. And I kept trying to go back there. I kept trying to go back to that place, to go back up to where I was, so high above my body. I kept trying and trying to get back there. And as soon as I just let it go, and I said, you know what? That's fine. I'm just going to meditate. As soon as I stopped trying, I was embraced by the sun again. I was basking in the sun. And then I tried to go back there. And as soon as I would try, the cloud would cover my sun. It was very odd. It was a small, round, dense cloud about a half a mile above me. And I did this kind of trying thing for about an hour, right? I'd try to go back, and the cloud would cover my sun. I'd give up and just be happy and content where I was, and the sun would come back. And I'd try to go back to that consciousness place. The cloud would cover my sun, and then I would just be contented again, and the sun would come back, and I'd be engulfed in sun. And so it was one of those points when I was engulfed in sun that I decided to just stay there. And so I got up and I walked around, and the most amazing thing is that I could talk to the animals. I knew what they wanted, right? Because really, when you take away your humanity and you just become a life form, right? We need the same things. We need food. We need light. We need shelter, right? And because it was a hot day, I knew what the bees wanted some of my honeydew. And the crickets wanted something. And the grasshopper wanted something else. And I knew what they wanted. And it was really interesting. And, I have to admit, when you're in that state of consciousness, you're very vulnerable. But I liked it there. But I couldn't stay there. I wanted so much to just take my guitar and go and live on some mountain and never come back to the city. I never wanted to come back. Just take my guitar and find some cave and just live there forever and in happiness. But then I did have the thought that, for me, because this was a gift, right? This experience that I had, it was a gift from the Creator, from the universe, from God, from, you put your name on it, from Mother Earth, the Great Spirit. I had this gift, right? And for me to just run away and hide in a mountaintop, wouldn't that be selfish? Wouldn't that be a selfish thing to do? To just take this gift and run off and not share it with anybody else. And that's what kept me from going off and living on a mountain, is because, I made the choice to stay. I made the choice to come back and be in society, even though it's a pretty hard place to be. I realize now why there are temples in the tops of mountains. Because when you're practicing, it doesn't matter what religion it is. When you practice spirituality, right? You love people. You love everybody. You love everything. And you don't conceive of deceit or anything that could harm another life. And when you're in that state up so high, if you were to try and walk around in the city like that, somebody would punch you in the face. I mean, they'd just walk up and be like, what's wrong with this guy? He's fucking nuts, right? So monks and, spiritual practitioners, they have to live in temples. They have to live away from society. Because to be able to stay in that high state of consciousness, you have to be in a safe place, a protected place, where you don't have to worry about, somebody coming after you or stealing your sandwich or running over your toe, right? It's just something that I kind of figured out. But anyway, I'm really happy that you're here today because I've been wanting to share this meditation experience with you. And I've had others that I'll put on other videos. But this one, I have to say, if this is the one that taught me, and I have never done psychedelics since, because that experience, the separation of my mind and body, was so profound that before this experience, I seriously would have thought to get that high that you'd need to take like 1,000 hits of acid. It completely dwarfed anything that mushrooms or acid had ever done. It was so pure and so real. And what a gift. I feel very lucky to be able to share that experience with you today. Thank you very much. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Bye.